Today we're going to read a news article together, and this is an advanced C1 article. But don't worry, because this lesson is perfect for you if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced student, because I'm going to explain everything in detail. You'll improve all areas of your English, your vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, reading, writing, and more. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started.
First, I'll read the headline, The Science of Peak Human Performance. Let's say that these two lines represent a mountain. So this is a mountain. What would you call this? The very top of a mountain. What is that called? It's the peak of the mountain. So in that case, it's a noun, the peak. Oh, we climbed to the peak, the very top. So peak performance, peak human performance, is when you are operating at your very top. So it's your most optimal, best state of performance. So it's how you definitely want to spend your day, peak performance. Now, I'm sure you want to learn the science of peak performance, how to perform at your best, your highest level when it comes to improving your English or any other area of your life. So if that's you, put me, put me, so I know you want to operate at your best, at your peak human performance. Now, don't worry about taking these notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now, let's read the article together. Flow state is widely recognized as the pinnacle of peak performance. Pinnacle also means the very top, the highest point. You could also refer to it as the top of a mountain. We climb to the pinnacle, but in my experience, peak is more common, whereas pinnacle is more common in terms of success, achievement. For example, giving a TED Talk, which is a very prestigious public speaking event, giving a TED Talk was the pinnacle of my career. Notice, it's the pinnacle of. You could think of it as the best moment of the pinnacle of my career. Now, flow state. Have you heard about this before? In English, it's very common to say, I was in flow. I was in flow. Have you heard someone say that before? If someone says they were in flow, to be in flow, it means they are operating or working at their best. So again, that peak state. Maybe you've heard, I was in the zone. I was in the zone. Oh, yesterday I was in the zone. It's the same thing. I was operating at my best. Everything was easy. I watched one of JForrest English lessons. I did the quiz. I got every question right. I was in the zone. I was in flow. From athletes and artists to entrepreneurs and designers, the world's top performers are no strangers to the optimal experience. And the optimal experience means being in flow state, being in the zone. Because optimal is another way of saying the best, the highest level, the most efficient, optimal. I like this expression, to be no stranger to. So in this context, the world's top performers are, because this is your verb to be, so you need to conjugate it. Here we have they. They are no strangers. Now we have this S on strangers because the subject is they. If it was one person, then it would be no stranger without the S. They're no strangers to something. So this expression, to be no stranger to, means you're familiar with something. And why are you familiar with it? Because you have done it many times. You have experienced it many times. Let's take moms, new moms with young children. We could say moms are no strangers to sleepless nights. If you are currently a new mother or you once were, I'm sure this sounds very true to you. You're no stranger to sleepless nights. You have a lot of experience with sleepless nights. Now, the subject is they, moms. There's no article here because it's a plural noun. They are our verb to be, and then you have that S on strangers. And then it's to something. In this case, the something is sleepless nights. Now, if your subject is singular, she is no stranger without the S to sleepless nights. So you have to change your conjugation of the verb to be and then make your noun stranger, singular, or plural. This expression will make more sense if you know what a stranger is. Hopefully you do. A stranger is someone you don't know. So because the example was about moms, a common thing that moms and dads say to their kids is, you shouldn't talk to strangers. They say this to young children. You shouldn't talk to people you don't know, strangers. So the expression is no stranger. So if you make stranger negative, it means it's someone you do know. So that means you're familiar with that person because you have experience with it. So a great expression to have in your vocabulary. Science shows that success and flow, remember flow is talking about being in that peak state where you are performing at your optimal level. Success and flow go hand in hand. So when two things go hand in hand, they complement each other. So learning English and the JForrest English YouTube channel go hand in hand. That's why our verb to go, they go hand in hand. So they complement each other, they go well together. If you agree that learning English and the JForrest English YouTube channel go hand in hand, then put hand in hand because it will help you remember this. Put hand in hand in the comments.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson.
With its myriad benefits, myriad, this means large number of. Notice that pronunciation, myriad, myriad. With its myriad benefits, and now it's going to list some of those benefits to show there are a large number of benefits, myriad benefits. So they are sustained concentration. So you can sustain, keep your concentration for a long period of time, sustained concentration, unbridled productivity. Unbridled means it's not controlled, it's not limited. So it's like saying unlimited productivity. Complete absorption. When you're absorbed in a task, it means you're not aware of things around you. I was so absorbed in this, let's say watching this video, that I didn't notice that someone was making lunch outside or my phone was beeping and I didn't even notice it because I was so absorbed in this video. And hopefully that describes you. Complete absorption, authentic happiness. So authentic means true or real, just to name a few. So this means, of course, there are more benefits, but these are a few of them, and there's more because there's myriad benefits. And again, these are all of the benefits, the myriad benefits of flow, being in flow, being in the zone. It's no wonder top performers are chasing after the elusive flow state. Elusive means it's difficult to define, find, or achieve depending on the context. In this context, because we're talking about flow state, it could be that it's difficult to define. How do you define what that is? But it could also be difficult to find or achieve. So in this context, it could describe all of them. The question is, how does one get into flow states? Most people are familiar with the basic effects of flow. So these are the basic effects before we talked about the benefits. So these are the effects of flow. What happens to you when you're in flow? High concentration, sense of control, transformation of time. But knowing this, how does one actually achieve these states? How do you find flow? In this case, actually means really or truly. How does one truly achieve these states? And states being states of being, because they were things that describe your current state of being, having a sense of control, having high concentration, the feeling of time transforming as a state of being. So how do you truly achieve these? How do you really achieve these? How do you actually achieve these? How does one, notice that here we have how does one, because one is being conjugated as he, she, it, but it's using one because in English there is no pronoun for both genders. So instead of saying he or she, you can just say one, but it represents he or she, which is why we have does. Because in the present simple, you need to add that s or es, but only for a he, she subject. But in this case, with you don't. So the auxiliary verb is do. How do you find flow? We have a fun expression in English. When someone asks a question like this, it's like asking, how do I become fluent? How do I perform at my optimal state every single day? That's the $1 million question. So if someone asks you a question, how do I become fluent? And they don't know the answer, but they want to acknowledge that it's a very important question and they wish they had the answer because it would benefit them as well. You can reply back and say, well, that's the $1 million question. That's the most important question. That's the question. If I knew the answer to it, I would probably be a millionaire. That's the $1 million question. Notice here, $1 million, there's no S on dollars because it's an adjective. That's the question. What type of question? The most important question. And we're just saying $1 million instead of most important. It's a very fun expression, and I think you can get a lot of use out of it. Beyond the basics, so beyond, going further than, beyond the basics, flow is a poorly understood concept because it lacks detailed explanation. So people know the basics of flow. In English speakers, because we know what flow means, to be in flow. Oh, I was in flow. I was in the zone. We know it means that you're operating at your best, but that's the basic. Beyond that, going farther than that, it lacks detailed explanation. A fully developed how-to guide of finding flow has to begin by examining the processes that underlie it. And notice here we have our preposition by, and that's why examining is in the verb ing, because you always use the verb ing after a preposition. By examining the processes that underlie it. Flow is so unlike most of our ordinary day-to-day cognitions and behaviors. Let's look at day-to-day. Now here they have cognitions, which just means your mental process, and behaviors, your actions. Now day-to-day, another word for that is everyday, but as one word, because there are two uses of everyday. As two words, it's a time reference. It's an adverbial phrase, and it means 7 days per week. I wear this sweater. This isn't a sweater, it's a t-shirt, but I wear this sweater every day. Hopefully, I don't wear this sweater every day, but maybe you do. This is an everyday sweater. So notice it comes before the noun because it's an adjective. It tells you about the noun, and it's saying it's a day-to-day. It's an ordinary, commonplace. There's nothing special about it. It's just an everyday sweater. Don't worry about spilling anything on it. It's just an everyday sweater, a day-to-day normal. So don't make this spelling mistake because it can be confusing. So just remember, as a time reference, I do this every day. It's 2 words, and as an adjective comes before the noun, it's 1 word. Pronunciation is the same. So here, day by day, this would be every day. Everyday cognitions, everyday behaviors, things you do every day. They're routine, they're normal. In a word, you can think of the mental mechanics of flow as the congruent merging of opposite states. That's kind of funny because they said in a word, but then they used many words to describe it. So they should have said in a sentence, in a phrase, if I'm being very picky, in a word, the congruent merging of opposite states. What exactly is the congruent merging of opposite states? When 2 things merge, it means they come together. This is a driving vocabulary. So if you need to merge onto a road, it means the 2 roads will come together as one. So you have to come into that road safely because there are already other cars on the road. You need to merge, come into it as one. So that's merging, coming together. When something is congruent, it means that 2 things are in agreement. There's no conflicts between them. So let's say I say yes, but I shake my head. Yes, yes. You would be confused because my words say yes, but my action says no. So right there, what I did, those 2 actions were incongruent. They didn't go together. They weren't in agreement. There were conflicts. So a lot of times we use this when your words and your actions don't match. They are not in agreement. They're incongruent. So the congruent merging of opposite states. It's where action meets awareness. So these are examples of opposite states. So there's awareness, being aware of something, but then action, doing. Action meets awareness, cognition meets behavior, intention meets application, conscious meets unconscious. For flow, there needs to be congruence between the 2. So they need to be in agreement. For example, it's the intention to perform better on a task plus the application of behaviors that actually improves your performance. We already saw actually. This means that really or truly improves your performance. Now here, a lot of times pay attention because students will say, oh, Jennifer, I really need to become fluent. But then their behavior doesn't match that. It's not congruent with their words because they don't spend the time, they don't take any action, they don't take it seriously. They enroll in a course, but they don't do the work. So their intention and their behaviors are incongruent. So they need to be congruent. You need to say, I need to improve my English, and then actually spend the time, do the work involved, and then it's congruent. On the other hand, so already I know that before I read what's next, there's going to be a contrast to what was just said, because that's how we use on the other hand. So here, probably the last thing they talked about is an example of being congruent. So on the other hand, I assume they'll share an example of being incongruent. So let's see. On the other hand, an incongruence, or a failed merging of states. So a student says, I want to become fluent, but they don't spend any time trying to achieve that goal, leads to rumination, distraction, and worry, states of anti-flow. Using transition words like on the one hand, on the other hand, can help you sound very advanced and very professional. Now, this one, you don't need to use on the one hand. On the other hand, you can just use on the other hand, like this example. There was no on the one hand. It just simply went into the contrast. So you can have a contrast being, first you talk about the positives, the benefits of something, and then you say on the other hand, and then you mention the negatives, the drawbacks, the disadvantages of something. But you can absolutely do it the reverse. First, you can talk about the negatives, the disadvantages of something on the other hand, and then talk about the positives, the advantages of that one thing. So you could say hiring a marketing manager will help us improve our sales. Now you can go on and list the reason why or more advantages, but this is a positive thing. So then you can say, on the other hand, and then you can list some negative things, or you can reverse the order. And remember, you don't have to use on the one hand, but you can to introduce the first part of the contrast. On the other hand, an incongruence or a failed merging of states leads to, okay, so here are the negative things: rumination, distraction, and worry. I'm sure you know what distraction means. It's when you're watching this video, but you're not truly watching it because you're checking your phone, you're making a to-do list for your groceries, you're making a cup of tea, you're doing all these things at the same time. Distraction, worry. Rumination, this is when you think of something and it's usually negative repeatedly. So if you have a job interview tomorrow or in a week from now, and you keep thinking about that job interview, but negatively, oh, I'm going to do a terrible job. What if I forget what I wanted to say? What if I don't get the job? And you do it over and over and over again. That's rumination. You're ruminating about the job interview. So these are states of anti-flow. So that's the end of our article. What I'll do now is I'll read the article from start to finish, and this time you can focus on my pronunciation. The science of peak human performance. Flow state is widely recognized as the pinnacle of peak performance. From athletes and artists to entrepreneurs and designers, the world's top performers are no strangers to the optimal experience. Science shows that success and flow go hand in hand. With its myriad benefits, sustained concentration, unbridled productivity, complete absorption, authentic happiness, just to name a few, it's no wonder top performers are chasing after the elusive flow state. The question is, how does one get into flow state? Most people are familiar with the basic effects of flow: high concentration, sense of control, transformation of time. But knowing this, how does one actually achieve these states? How do you find flow? Beyond the basics, flow is a poorly understood concept because it lacks detailed explanation. A fully developed how-to guide of finding flow has to begin by examining the processes that underlie it. Flow is so unlike most of our ordinary day-to-day cognitions and behaviors. In a word, you can think of the mental mechanics of flow as the congruent merging of opposite states. It's where action meets awareness, cognition meets behavior, intention meets application, conscious meets unconscious. For flow, there needs to be congruence between the two. For example, it's the intention to perform better on a task plus the application of behaviors that actually improves your performance. On the other hand, an incongruence or a failed merging of states leads to rumination, distraction, and worry, states of anti-flow.
Do you want to keep learning English with the news? If you do, put let's go, put let's go in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.